as usual, Detroit is still ahead of the curve and beating everybody out and setting a major standard for how to organize and collaborate across issues, across communities, and use the assembly process.
Single moms, the unemployed, re-entry, all these different people that have, for the most part, been discarded, devalued, having a say.
So this is not the mayor's process, this is not the philanthropic community's process, this is a people's process. The PMA is a tool that we're using to convene communities and to really promote the co-creation of a new Detroit based upon what the people want to do.
Yeah, it's all about evolving, evolution. What is the actual process going to evolve into? And it's going to evolve into a movement that the people can buy into and take ownership of.
My heart, how much I thank each and every last one of you for coming here. You don't know what you have done for the city of Detroit. You have lifted our spirits. You have raised our expectations.
With the mayor's process. Some of us wanted to get into the mayor's process and seek to transform it, calling the question on philanthropy and the mayor on running game on the people. Some of us wanted a people process, so it was a pushback and a co-creation. And the pushback was really to observe, call the question on the mayor's process. The co-creation was, what is our vision?
The history of organizing in Detroit represents decades of struggle for workers' rights, neighborhood sustainability, and the basic right to survive. This specific organizing in 2011 is part of that history. Folks are fighting the mayor's current plan to bulldoze houses and neighborhoods, displace poor and working people, and implement pseudo-green strategies. Detroit's effort resonates beyond local organizing because cities and rural areas across the United States are being displaced by environmental crises, gentrification, and land grabs for private gains. Without a people's plan, our communities will constantly be reacting to attacks from institutions and power structures that don't care about our lives. How do our communities fight back and design our own plans for liberation simultaneously? Detroit's People's Movement Assembly is historically significant because despite so much opposition and across so many differences, communities are coming together to resist and also design plans based on our principles.
When organizing the PMAs, it's important to think about before, during, and after. Before the PMA, people converge, find each other, and begin to plan. As part of this process, on the ground before the Detroit PMA, 2 facilitation trainings were organized.
Reading the room is a real true skill. You got to be reading all the time. You got to know exactly where folks are, so you know exactly who's falling asleep and who's not, and who's up and who's with it, and who's confused, and what they're looking like, and who's about to say something. If they don't say something, they got to say something now. And so you got to get them, think about it, hold them, you know. But eye contact, all these things are real skills. This is practice. This is performance. This is right. This is all these different things.
deepen our collective understanding of Detroit Works Project and its core meaning, to lift up Detroit and our collective power, to propose, discuss, and affirm actions. This is a process that we're coming in together. We're coming in bringing not only our physical selves, but bringing in the various things that we're connected to, and leaving with a spirit of collective action.
This has nothing to do with the Detroit Works process. This is a parallel, people-driven, grassroots democracy, consensus-building, solution-centered, uplifting, community-affirming process. This has nothing to do with the smoke and the mirrors, the corporate elite, the shenanigans, clicker fiascos, and confusion that's associated with the mayor's Detroit Works process. So the mayor's process is separate, but we have the right, the responsibility to critique, call the question, and put feet to the fire on his process. But that doesn't take away the responsibility for us to engage our brothers and our sisters in consensus building about what we're going to do as owners, as taxpayers, as people who live on blocks and in houses. We have a responsibility to each other. So this process is about us with each other, about our communities, and about democracy, and about a process that builds consensus around strategies and actions that will ultimately promote the quality of life of all of us. The first thing we want to request is a moratorium on all school closing. As well as a moratorium on all library closing. All right.
We're trying to look for the common analysis. We want to do this by polling our neighborhoods and then adopting a neighborhood and putting all the necessities it needs in that neighborhood, and then go to another neighborhood and model that neighborhood after that neighborhood to create strong neighborhoods.
The mayor thought that it would be a pushover. I think that the mayor thought it would be a pushover and that he would bring in some experts and the experts would make some pronouncements and then everybody would be okay with that. And it wasn't a pushover. So we don't know. We're gonna see what the next phase is. But it was not a pushover. Another world is possible, but where is that world? You know, hopefully in Detroit, from the PMA, from these conversations, from those 250-something people, from, you know, the variety of organizations, that can be, just like we have the declarations of human rights, and we have the Kochibamba, and we have these different visions that people can look to say, oh, this is what another world would be like.
I think that we're still much more powerful because we listened and heard sharing words, and so we know that we have more in common than we have to separate us. But I think we don't have a shared analysis, that common analysis yet. So I think we're still divided. Powerful, on the way to something, but we ain't there yet.
The long road ahead of us, and we got to keep going. This is just the beginning. That's how I see it.